Join me as you and I and you take a journey to become better writers together and geek out. Hello there, Applebites. This is your host, Written Writ Ralph, talking to you straight from here, the Written Writ. And over here on my side, we got Dan Willis and Charles W. Morgan, and we will be talking about detectives, because who doesn't like a good detective story? At least I think people like good detective stories. That was the first thing that got me my juices pumping when I was a kid. You know, started off with Sherlock Holmes and moved up from there. Well, actually, I have to credit Encyclopedia Brown, because that was my first detective. Some people go out there going, now, who the hell is Encyclopedia Brown? Oh, man. So, Charles, why don't you start us off? Let them know who you are. Give them the spiel. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm Charles W. Morgan. I'm the CEO of 4Speed Studios, and I've launched a comic book series called Cold Kutter. And Cold Kutter #1 launched last year in September, and we were successful in our campaign. So we just launched Cold Kutter #2 in May, and we got like one more day, and you know, we're at a pretty good spot, but you know, we're just kind of struggled a little bit there in the middle, and we're just, you know, we got over our funding goal. But yeah, we would really love your support. The book is based on a crime noir detective series with the setting is in New York, and it's in modern day New York, and you know, it's got a classic feel to the book, to the story. I wanted to have a classic feel, sort of like Stan Drake's Heart of Juliet Jones, or something, you know, like Rip Kirby that Alex Raymond did, a black and white kind of a book, you know, where, you know, you got the shadows and light, and you know, it just gives it a noir feel that I thought would be really interesting to help move the story along. And the first book starts out with Dylan in a very dark place. You know, his brother is his partner in the investigator business, and he's been murdered. And on page 1 of issue #1, it opens up, you know, he's really trying to figure out how to get through the day. You know, he's just had a really, really tough time dealing with his brother's death. And then suddenly he's attacked, and the story opens up with a lot of action. He has to, you know, run down the perpetrator, capture him, and, you know, try not to get killed in the process. And he does. And come to find out, it's the same guy who murdered his brother. And he had escaped. He had escaped prison, got out, and attempted to kill Dylan. So, you know, and Dylan has a love interest named Triff Austin. And she enters the scene, you know, pretty early on in book #1. And, you know, she's sort of a romantic interest. It kind of grows throughout #1. By the end of the book, she's in trouble, and he has to rescue her. So I don't want to spoil it too much. I don't want to do, you know, a big spoiler here, but because a lot of you may have not read #1, and we've got the #1 catch-up book on our current Kickstarter. It's Cold Kutter #2 with #1 catch-up. So if you haven't read it, I would like to encourage you to go on there and pledge on, you know, 1 and 2. And, you know, we have the PDFs that are cheaper, or you can get a physical copy. You can get a physical copy of 1 and 2.
Right.
And there's several other packages available with different variant covers. And, you know, I got some really big talent in the business that helped us out with covers. Joseph Rubenstein. I got Mark McKenna, and also Larry Stroman. That's the Larry Stroman cover right there. Just a brilliant, just a beautiful cover, you know. Jesse Heege colored my covers. He just knocked it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, these covers look fantastic.
Yeah, so, you know, I appreciate that. I think they, you know, the guys that helped me out really, really did a good job on, you know. Yeah, we have the all-in Cold Kutter #1, all-in Cold Kutter #2, you know, with all the variants. You can do full covers. You can convert them to virgin covers. You can have virgin foils. You know, there's just a lot of different ways. As a collector, you know, you may want to get something like that. You know, I think a lot of people that have pledged, they've either got the pick any three, or they got the all in. You know,
Right.
Haven't been too many people just bought one book. They just say, well, you know, might as well get all of them or get 3 of them or something. You know, but anything would help. And I promise you won't be disappointed. And we have some stretch goals here. I don't know if we're going to make our stretch goal unless we get, you know, a lot of people jump in right here tonight and tomorrow.
Well, it's possible because you're pretty close to 1,500. You're what was it?
Yeah, we're like 220 out or something close to that number.
Yeah, you're there. It's possible to do it in
Yeah, it's close. So if we had several backers jump in, hey, we could give everybody some free stuff right there. We got some stickers available, some full die cut stickers. You know, so we might could get to that first stretch goal. You know,
that'd be great if you can actually get to that first stretch goal before the campaign ends, or at least at that finish line.
Right, exactly. And if we could do that, that would help. You know, it would help everybody get a little something for free, and it would help us too. And like I say, I promise you will not be disappointed in the story. It's got a lot of action, drama. I've been told by some people in the movie industry that it's well written. I'm also the writer. I'm the creator, writer, and artist of the book. So I've had some good feedback on it. I'm in about 3 different comic stores currently.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah, we're selling some books in the stores, you know. So yeah, we're just hoping that this last night and tomorrow we can up our funding some more, and you know, and gain some new customers. And I just really want to get the story out there, just get it in your hands, and just let people read it, and just give me your feedback on it. You know,
how were you able to get it into the comic stores?
Well, I had a guy reach out to me a couple of days ago, and he wanted to. He actually pledged on the campaign, and then he wanted to know if I had a retailer bundle, you know, available. And I said, you know, I think I have a retailer bundle available. So I gave him a price, you know. So yeah, he actually bought a bundle, you know, for his store. So he bought a bundle for number 1 and bundle for number 2, and he's putting it in the store. You know, I think they arrived there today, and he stocked them on the shelf today. So then my local comic shop here, they carried it, and one in Chattanooga, which is about 2 hours from me, they carried it. So, you know, it's kind of hard to get into a lot of stores because, you know, the driving distances and things like that. It makes it a little bit of a challenge, but you know, we're doing what we can with it.
Right. Yeah, I think Dan's having a little bit of issues. He said he'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
So, because that's one of the important things is to start getting it out there, other than the Kickstarters, you know, to get it into the store itself.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, he's advertising on his website. He's linking the books, you know, over to my social medias and things like that too. So, you know, it's been a big help to have that in the store. It's called Nerdables in Roxborough, North Carolina. That's the store. So, and I think he's trying to be in the store. So,
we all love our local comic stores. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to get the name out there. You know what? Yeah. You know, not because I'm partial to this or anything. I'm going to play the video.
Okay. Yeah.
You're not partial. You're just biased.
Maybe. I wonder why.
I find myself in the middle of a gun battle. I've been shot, bleeding, can't see through the smoke from my gun barrel. I can hear my heart beating in my ears. Faster, desperate, so desperate to rescue Triff from these murderous crime lords. I have only moments to get to Liberty's ground to save her. They crossed the wrong guy, and nobody is gonna stop me.
Yeah, so do you recognize the voice there? That's Raphael Travaris. I think I said that right. Raphael
You
Travaris.
said it right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like the band. I can say that to you guys because you guys know what I'm talking about. I can't say that anymore. I used to make that joke all the time. Now I say that and people go, "Band? What band?"
Yeah, I really
Oh
appreciate
man,
you doing that too. You've done a good job for me. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I had fun with it. I've always loved the whole noir feel of the voiceover for for detectives. So it comes up my alley.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being willing to do it, and you've done a good job on both campaigns on videos.
I appreciate it, bro. and I, who doesn't love a good detective story? Like I said in the beginning.
Yeah, I love them too, and I've got a lot of things I'm introducing in book number 2. We got some new characters. We got some, we're kind of pulling back the curtain. In other words, we're pulling back the curtain layer by layer, and you're beginning to see, who's behind all this criminal activity and murderous activities. So, we're seeing little bit by little what's happening, and we're working up to a big twist of sorts that I don't think anybody will see it coming.
You don't think what?
I don't believe anybody will see it coming.
Oh, okay.
We got a little twist in the story, a major twist in the story there.
So
I'm planning it to be a 5-issue. What's that?
the best kind of twist. If you see it coming,
Exactly.
boy.
And a good detective story always has to have one, and it's usually the client who's always trying to mess us over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, so Dan, it's your turn. Give us the spiel.
Well, I'm Dan Willis, and I write fantasy detective noir mysteries set in 1930s New York, a world where magic exists and people know it exists. And so there's certain magical things that interact with the real world. There's 3 kinds of magic: sorcery, alchemy, and rune rites. And sorcerers are rare but very powerful. Alchemists, of course, always be able to make a living because they deal with health and additives to anything that's manufactured. And then there's rune rites, who are the poor cousins of magic, and that's where my detective comes in. And he's got a little bit of skill and a lot of knowledge, and basically uses his magic to find clues and trace leads that the police wouldn't be able to follow. I think basically it's Sam Spade if he had the tools of a CSI, a modern CSI. So a lot of intrigue and interest, magic, murder, and mayhem. And I'm on book 10. I'm writing book 10 right now in that series.
Wow.
And you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, I started writing this kind of story back in I think I wrote it in 2016. The first book I didn't publish it until 2018.
Right.
But 'cause I was looking for a publisher for it. But Jim Butcher was getting a divorce, and so I was missing my Dresden Files fix, and I wanted to write a sort of a noir detective book, and said, you know what, I think I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'll write this story I've been thinking about, and that'll give me my magic detective fix.
Exactly. It bugs me out though, because I know a lot of people don't seem to like the magic detective types of stories, and you mentioned Dresden, and people go, that's just aloof. It was something that just happened. I'm like, Dresden's really popular.
Yeah, there's a few, Dresden. There's the Iron Druid books, and there's a few others that are escaping me because my brain is Swiss cheese. I haven't had my Adderall, recently enough to remember any of that. But the thing that turns people off about magic detectives is when magic is what they use to solve the crime. It's like they wiggle their fingers and pop, there's a bad guy. And I try to make sure that my books, if nothing else, are straight up mysteries from the standpoint of the detective working the case. Right. Somebody once was talking about this and said, Dan's books, the detective always figures out the ending by legwork. It's all getting out there and doing the work. He's got some skills that let him find clues that other people would miss in that era because they didn't have the technology to find them.
Right.
But
and that's how
really all. Yeah, that's really all it does for him. So It's been a lot of fun writing these stories, and they're very well received. I've got tons of reviews on Amazon. I'm shocked. I think my first book went over 3,500 reviews, which just boggles my mind. When I first started doing this, like, if I could get 100 reviews, that would really be something, And here I am 4 years later going, wow, 3,500 reviews on one book. So I'm humbled and grateful that people are enjoying it, and I'll keep writing as long as people keep reading.
It's funny that you said the whole thing about magic as a tool, but technically speaking, when we talk detectives, it's the gadgets that that help them out. They don't solve the mystery for them because they got to do the legwork.
Yep.
But so it's just a classic detective story. You're just using the magic instead of the tools.
Yep. Yeah, I just basically, it's a police procedural just set in 1930, except he's got modern clue finding abilities. So it's a fun series. The first book, In Plain Sight. If you're an e-reader, it's $2.99, out on Amazon. So it's cheaper than a cup of cheap coffee. It's way cheaper than a cup of designer coffee. So
that's a pretty good pickup right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can just pick it up, check it out, and it's only $2.99. Come on, man. We throw away coffee that costs more than that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they are available in paperback and hardback and audio if you're an audiobook guy. And unfortunately, printing costs are starting to hit inflation. So Amazon's warned me that on the 20th of June, costs are going up. It looks like it probably will cause $1 increase per volume of, $1 per paperback, maybe $1.50 per hardback. I'm not really sure yet.
Ouch.
So, if you're a reader who likes the physical copies, you might want to go out and grab them while you can. But while they're cheaper, I mean, they're not going to be terribly more expensive, but hey, why lose a buck? So.
Yeah, but that's how they get you. They nickel and dime you. They bring it up slowly, so you don't pay attention, so you don't complain.
I don't know. Honestly, inflation's. I mean, the price of eggs is,
ridiculous.
You can invest. I'm keeping these eggs for my retirement. But
exactly.
but the printing costs have been slow to rise. So I mean, I got to give Amazon props for that. They held it off as long as I think they could. But paper costs and all the rest that's going up. So.
I wonder if because comics, it's been like it was like a really quick rise right away. The prices for making comics went up really quick. So I'm kind of surprised that the prices for the books didn't go up that quick either.
Well, comics, I know that I don't know about what Charles, what you're familiar with, but with DC and Marvel, they've been wanting to raise prices for a long time.
Oh yeah, a long time.
Keeping them down. So I think the first chance they got to bump it up $1.50, they did. So
I really don't know. Like it's funny because I go to the comic stores and I buy books, but I sit there most of the times and go, which kid is going to a comic store and plunking down $5 for a comic book? I know now $5 isn't that much money, but at the same time, as a kid,
wasn't that 10 years ago when they were $5? $7.50 or something like that now.
It's higher than that. I'm using $5 as a basic price.
Yeah.
My hobby is Legos, so I don't have any money to buy comics.
Yeah, they're going up out there. You see like $7.99, $5.99.
Yeah, I think the last time I was in there was like $6.99, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and
then
they do that.
$3.99, I think. There's some out there still $3.99.
Oh, there's still some cheaper ones, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The cost has gone up on printing for sure. Printing costs and stuff has gone up.
Well, then Marvel does we have 27 different cover variants for this issue.
Oh, definitely.
Try and get a little extra money out of you. But
yeah.
It bugs me. I know kids are probably wasting money on video games, on a bunch of more expensive things. Even the video games, the ones you play online, they probably spend $5 in one sitting. It's probably way more than that. So I guess there's money there, but at the same time, it just doesn't add up to me. Maybe I'm just thinking about how things were when we were younger, but at the same time, it's like.
Yeah,
going down $5 for a comic.
When we were going to the store, going to the store as a youngster, we would be scraping up to find 50 cents.
Yeah.
So when we think about $5 and the kids, hand. It's just unfathomable, I guess, to imagine that. But times have
Well,
changed.
I remember for $5, I used to get a lot of books.
I know it.
I remember the first time I went into a bookstore and I picked up a paperback and it was $7.99, and I'm like, this is a $3.50 book. What the hell happened? You know, I've bought books this size before. I know what they cost, and I'm like, man, it's been a while since I've been in a bookstore.
Yeah,
I think the paperback prices are up to $16.95 now or something like that.
wow.
Paperback. Well, my paperbacks. I mean, because I'm an indie author, which means Amazon is printing on demand. Mine are $14.99. You know, which is, I mean, I don't like charging
pretty
that,
good.
but it's about the best I can do. But there's just no excuse to have a main market paperback from some big publisher to be more than in $9.99. You know, they just. And then they have ebooks that are $9.99. The print book is $9.99. The ebook is $9.99. I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
Come
that'd be
on.
great.
You just brought something up that I've been dying to talk about, and it's video games, it's books, it's why are we paying for something that we're not getting? You know, when it comes to the digital version of things, why are we paying $69 for a video game if it's only the digital version? You know, at least with the physical version, you're getting something with it. When it's a digital, you figure come on, give me at least $10 off.
Yeah. I always
be.
buy physical media because I'm worried that one of these days somebody will go, that game is problematic.
Exactly.
And then they'll disappear from the server. Whereas, you know, if I have physical media, then you can just bite me because I'm going to play it if I want to.
I was actually having an argument with somebody recently because they like digital, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like digital, and they're like, oh, why? Because you don't own it. They can take it away anytime they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
They can decide.
I don't mind digital for some little indie game that, you know, I'm going to play for 10 hours and then I'm going to never play it again because I already got my value out of it. But yeah, if I'm going to pay $65 for $70 for a game, I want to own it.
Right. Me too.
That's like with the music too. You know, you have all these songs, you own all these albums, but the first time some kind of digital craziness happens, they go, "What music? You didn't have any music."
Right. And there's something about having a physical copy in your hand where you can see the artwork, and like even with music, DVDs, LPs. You know, you used to have the big photographs, the big artwork inside the LPs.
Yeah.
So that's really coming back. I think last year was the first time that vinyl has outsold CDs.
Yeah.
Since 1987.
Vinyl's doing well.
Kind of turning around, you know. So maybe it's a physical copy comeback, right?
But also, when it comes to record albums, there's a certain sound that you can't get from digital.
Right. That's true. You got that hiss in there.
Especially if you like to write detective stories, you want to hear that, you know, that needle hitting the record. And
you got the crosshatch in the music, right? The crosshatch's got to be there.
You get the static like an old timey radio. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Even when they would do the phonographs, you're like, the thing goes down. You know, there's so much mystery and spookiness for the phonograph. Especially when it starts to play by itself. Let me ask you both this. We're writing detectives here, and it's an interesting genre, and I can see that it's beginning to cross over, like Dan is doing with magic and steampunk and a bunch of different things. And it's been doing it for a while because I feel like you know, we've seen futuristic detectives in some places and others. I feel like it's one of those more pliable genres that are out there. What do you guys think about all this?
I've been yakking. Go ahead, Charles. I'll run people off if I don't let you cross. You know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think you could have a Western noir, you could have an alien-based noir, you could have noir taking place on Mars. I mean, you know, in really magic, you know, or some type of fantasy-oriented type material. You know, you could do crime noir. Could really be done in a lot of different ways. Yeah. And it's if you look in like a lot of science fiction shows and stuff, even like some of these Star Wars streaming shows. I forget the one, but it looks like there's a noir-looking cowboy with a laser gun at the end of the show. And it's like, that's noir in science fiction. And, you know, I just feel like it's a genre that it's always lasted the test of time. I mean, we can say, yeah, certainly the superheroes have been around since 1939, Superman, Batman. But, you know, a lot of these crime noir movies and in the black and white era were actually what people went to see mostly, probably in the 30s, 40s. And then all the classic comic strips of Stan Drake, you know, and many others, Jim Holdaway. You know, they were just, you know, they're just timeless, you know.
A lot of the superhero genre grew out of detective stories.
Exactly.
But for me, the thing is that, you know, detective stories, murder mysteries, you know, crime is really about only a couple of things. You know, you got the crime of passion, you got, you know, somebody who commits a crime so they can get power or so that they can get money, you know. It's very simple. And so really all you have to do to set a murder mystery in any setting is just to find the setting. You know, as long as the reader, viewer, whatever the media is being consumed, as long as they can understand the setting, you know, I understand what's going on. I understand the rules of this world, of this, you know, space station or whatever you have, you know, you've said it.
Yeah.
You can, after that, it's all the same stuff. You got to find suspects. You got to eliminate suspects. You got to find clues, you know, and as you do, your character's going to find clues that lead them up some blind alleys. They're going to be opposition, you know, depending on, you know, if people that are the bad guys know the detective's looking for them. It's all pretty much universal stuff. It's the reason why Westerns work really well in space and other places, because all those ideas, all those concepts are fairly universal to the human condition.
Completely agree. And you're right. The comics all started off like the Shadow, the Spirit. A lot of the early superheroes were detectives who had a little oomph to them. You know, Batman started off as a detective. You know, so you know, it's just an interesting. And then if you want to go all the way back to Sherlock Holmes,
the consulting detective. It's funny, the Sherlock Holmes came very shortly after the invention of the entire genre, because that was Murders in the Rue Morgue by Edgar Allan Poe is the first actual detective story where you have somebody who isn't a policeman coming in and doing detective stuff. So actually, I think he was a policeman, but it was straight up detective stuff as opposed to adventure stories.
True.
But been a while since I've read my Poe. I gotta go. Maybe Halloween. I'll go back and read. But Poe is heavy. Yeah. It gives you a change view of life if you read enough Poe.
He's amazing because he's all over the place. He's, you know, even when his horror, you know, is going on, sometimes you feel the mystery, the detectiveness attached to it. You know, like the Telltale Heart with the police coming in and the heart beating. That feels so much like a detective story.
I love that story because it's written from the perspective of somebody who's obviously losing their mind, and it's written in a way that you believe he's losing his mind. You know. That takes some writing chops. Either that or that's Poe's life written down. I don't know. He was a bit of a wingnut, but a lovable wingnut, but a wingnut.
Well, you know, you have to be kind of a. We know this. We're writers. We have to be kind of nuts in order to do what we do.
Yeah, not wrong.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, anytime I tell people, oh yeah, they're just telling the character's telling me what he wants. They're like, what do you mean the character's telling you what they want?
That's worse. It's like, no, I try to make the character do something he doesn't want to do, and he keeps fighting me. I wouldn't do that. Who's in charge?
And they get very vocal. Oh, they get really vocal. Yeah, and it's so funny though. Like, I know there's been times, you know, I think I told one of you this before, where, you know, people get upset with when you bend the genres or when you add things to the genres, and that wouldn't happen. I'm like, no, this is the character telling me what's going on. This is the character telling me this is the direction the story is going into. You know, this is the flow that's happening. You know, so you know whether you like it or not, this is exactly the way the story happened. But the rules say.
Well, if you're making your own world, then, you know, throw the rules. I've had people come at me because I've set mine in New York, on Manhattan mostly. And I have old maps of Manhattan. I have old pictures of Manhattan. And so I'm trying to work in as much real history as I can.
Right.
But I don't always get it right. I had somebody write me and said that my character used he had a band, the band play In the Mood, because it had a big brassy section, and he was going to take somebody out, and he's worried that they would hear a gunshot if the guy shot at him. And somebody pointed out, well, that didn't come out until a year after when you have the story set. I'm like, okay, I didn't look that up. That's my bad. But the interesting thing about that is I always come back with, well, hey, this is magic exists in this world. It's not quite the same timeline. So,
exactly.
Oh, don't get bogged down.
It's an alternate Earth.
Enjoy the story. Yeah.
Earth 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, that's one of the things that, you're mentioning something else that bothers me also with when it comes to fans and this type of stuff is, why do you want it to be so close to realism, to reality? This is a different universe.
Right.
If you ask me, I think it's because people know things and they're proud of the fact that they know things, and they want to let you know that they know things. And I'm always like, you know what? That's great. I'm glad you. Every once in a while, I get a detail and I'm like, ooh, I better change that in my book because I want that to be this, because I'm going to build something on it later.
Right.
So, I'm always happy to correct me. I don't care. I might not change the book, but I'm happy to know that I goofed up, because it tells me where I have to do more research in the future. Was this song out at this time? I never thought I'd say those words.
But you're right, though. It's a different world. There's magic in your world, so maybe the song came out sooner.
Yeah. Glenn Miller got inspired earlier.
Exactly. The magic inspired him. Charles, you say your piece is set in New York too. And
yes.
Have you found any issues with somebody telling you that's not there?
Well, I've got a little bit of insight into it. It's called I can Google what I want to set my comic book in, but see, I've got to do visuals too. So I don't want it necessarily to be perfectly accurate all the time, but there's times when I do want it to be accurate. So like I take us down to Pier 4 in New York, and I've got a scene that happens and unfolds right there. So I draw Pier 4. I mean, I've got actual locations. But the beautiful part is now you don't have to really live there to get the accuracy. You can
That's true.
Go on the internet and pull photos. You can look at maps. I got a son, Kenny, lives in New York, so he's right down the street from you, Raphael, and he can take photos and send me some if I need them. But I've been there, I visited it, and kind of gave me some inspiration, really, as to how to direct the book, because I've had this idea in my head for many years, and I just didn't know how I would do the story. So when I finally visited New York, that's what kind of gave me, the idea on how to finish it, on what I wanted to do with it, and make it visual, because comics is a visual medium.
Yeah.
So we're trying to set a storyboard. We're trying to write a script, do a storyboard, so we get a flow to get the storytelling right. And I want it to be where if you didn't read it, but you looked at the pictures, you would kind of understand the basic thing that's going on with it. So I try to tell a story visually as well as have the script, and I try to keep the captions to a minimum, just enough to give you the information you need.
Is your story contemporary, or is it set in the past?
It's contemporary. It's in modern day Manhattan.
I missed a little bit of the beginning because of a sound issue. So
yeah. So it's modern day setting, and so I've got to draw a lot of glass buildings and things like that. But there's still some old alleyways around that gives you.
Well, that's how New York is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You step in the wrong alley, you step back 50 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes even more than that.
There's a reason why almost everybody who films in New York puts the Flatiron Building in at some point. So there's some really great architecture in New York.
Oh, beautiful, man.
Absolutely.
And it's so funny because us New Yorkers barely pay attention to anything.
Yeah. Well, you walk around. I'm from out here in Georgia, so we're out here in wide open spaces. So you're looking around this way. You go to New York and you're like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different experience. So I'm trying to put some visuals in there like that, Oh,
yeah. You can feel it from your book. Oh, everything feels like that. It has that feeling of, everything's pretty high around us.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to do as best I can with that and to make it accurate as possible.
It's one time where the visual medium really works for you.
Yeah. Same thing with movies too, because you want to get a certain feelings and certain like right now I'm working on this movie called the Get Down Gang, and it's a contemporary piece, but it has a 70s feel to it. So, and I'm beginning to, and for a while I've liked those ideas of like having something that's in the modern, but it has a feeling of another time period, because it's almost like what would have happened if that period was now with how we are now, and how would it feel, and can you make it feel 70s and still be contemporary? Can you make it feel 40s and still be contemporary? I find it really interesting, and it's also the craft of trying to tell a story visually and put you in different places at the same time. I feel like, Dan, you know what I'm talking about, because you're doing this 30s magic New York, and that's not what it was, but you can feel it when you're reading your pieces.
Oh yeah, with what you were talking about with like a film, the easiest way to identify the period is by the music. If you're using the background music, I mean, if you're watching a movie you've never seen before, the music starts going waka chicka waka chicka waka chicka. It's the 60s. It's just it's the 60s. That was the soundtrack to every action film in the 60s. If you couldn't tell from the fact that there were wide collars and bell bottoms, but in a book environment, your cues are more what the character focuses on. I talk about him going out into the rain in one of the first scenes as he's going to a crime scene. And, he lights a cigarette and uses the cigarette to light the little runes were drawn in flash paper, and you burn it. And then suddenly the rain that's been raining on him disappears because he's now encased in this little bubble that makes the rain miss him, And so you get this magic, I'm talking about the neon being blurred by the rain dripping around on this invisible shield. He's, smoking a cigarette and wearing a fedora. You pretty well have nailed that to, this is sometime in the past when everyone smoked. He's wearing a hat, so it's pre-1960. A lot of neon stuff like that. You can think 40s, 50s. So it starts to narrow it down just by what you focus on, which is fun.
It amazes me that because I know a lot of people don't really think about it. They don't put that much thought into it. But the 40s feel like the 40s, the 50s feel like the 50s, the 60s feel like the 60s. But if you tell that to people, they go, "What are you talking about?" But it's there. And I feel like more recently that's kind of lost, because I feel like for the past 30 years it feels the same. You can see some nuances and how technology has changed certain things, but the 2000s feel like the 2010s, the 2010s feel like the 2020, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, the problem is,
what I'm saying.
The problem is that we've grown up in that era, and so we haven't seen the change. But I mean, I'm 54 years old, so if I was to go and talk to kids, my daughter who just graduated's age, 18-year-olds, and talk to them about, having to run and answer the phone if you were getting home, and you hear the phone ringing inside. That's a definite one there, yeah. And you run and the phone is on the wall, and they're looking at you like, why would you leave your phone on the wall? No, it was attached to the wall. It wasn't my phone. It was the phone.
Exactly. It was the house phone. It's the landline.
What's a landline? Won't they just leave a message? No, answering machines didn't exist in the 1980s. Right. It was later. Right. But they became popular. Actually, I guess they did exist in the 80s. It was very late in the 80s. So and you discover that when it comes to things like telephones, you have nothing in common with these people. The thing that really did it for me was my great-grandfather. When he was born, the fastest way to get around was a train. The fastest way that, you individuals on the farm could get around was a horse.
Right.
Before he died, he watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon on his television set. Now you think about that. One lifetime from horse and buggy to Neil Armstrong walking around on the moon, and everybody in the world saw it. You know, that stuff's happening to us. We just don't know it because we're in the middle of it. We can't see it. You know.
Hey, I can feel the 80s. I can feel the 90s.
I feel the 80s every time. I feel the 80s every time my daughter turns on the radio and some crap comes on. It's like, man, I miss the 80s when music was fun. Yeah.
Yep.
Somewhere in the mid 90s, everything went to grunge, and it was all crap after that.
you remember what they said about our 80s music? They were like, it's disposable, and now 40, 50 years later.
Yeah,
dedicated to it now.
You'd give anything for somebody who could write music like that, you know?
Yeah.
Just write something original instead of something that sounds like every other thing. Sorry, pet peeve.
Yeah. 3 old men.
I'm in a room full of boomers.
Hey, Gen X, buddy.
Gen X, that's right.
No, you're all boomers to us.
Yeah. And that's why Gen X is always getting angry because everybody forgets us.
Yeah, boomers are in the 70s. They're in their 70s. I mean, you know, boomers that's an old generation. My dad's a boomer. He's 80.
If you struggle to work a cell phone, you're a boomer.
Oh, hell, I don't struggle to use a cell phone. I'm a master at that. Gen X grew up with new technology every 10 minutes. We saw, records went to cassette tapes, went to CDs, went to movies went from not being able to record anything because television was television to VCRs and Betamax briefly. And things
we remember 8 tracks all the way through to digital.
Yep,
we had it all.
and every time something new came out, we had to go roll up our sleeves and figure this out. We
did it.
Right.
I was always called fix the VCR.
Yeah. Why is I I had a girlfriend. I went to her parents' house. Like, why is your VCR flashing 12? Well, we don't know how to do it. I'd never seen that model before. In like 30 seconds, I had the right time on it.
Exactly.
It's not hard.
Right.
But to be fair, people are talking about AI now, and I'm like, do I want to roll up my sleeves and learn AI? I don't think I really do, but I probably have to. Just haven't done it yet.
I don't know, man. I'm still iffy on AI. I've seen enough Terminator movies.
Somebody's going to give this thing the nuclear codes.
Exactly. I just think it's funny, and then people look at me and like, oh, what, AI? I'm like, yeah. I saw Terminator. I know what happens. Don't give me this crap.
Yeah. Have you seen War Games? We haven't really come that far.
We got the warnings. We took them to heart.
Yeah.
I think that's why it took this long for AI to be what it is. It's because we were like, nope, we ain't doing that shit.
Yep. Well, I think the surest sign that we're not had too much trouble is nobody has come from the future to stop us.
You're right. That actually makes sense. and knowing us, there'll be a detective from the future coming to
trying to figure out what happened. Yeah. All the records are gone. We don't know how you guys destroyed everything.
That's a good detective story right there.
Sure is.
Well, I think they already did that one. Isn't that basically the plot of 12 Monkeys? They don't know what happened. So sending Bruce Willis back in time to figure it out. He eventually gives up because he can't.
Yeah.
I think that's
it kind of is, yeah. Oh, man. So if you guys weren't writing detectives, what would you be writing?
Charles?
Okay, so if I wasn't writing detectives, I would probably try to write a superhero style book, but it'd be different. I wouldn't just do the same old thing that's been done. I would try to come up with something unique, which I don't know how unique you could make it. That's the only thing about it. It's been done so many different ways, So I kind of would like to do a fantasy style, maybe something to do with something on the medical side of things, a medical fantasy. So
That's
like you might
weird combination.
Huh? What's that?
That's interesting. That's a weird combination.
Yeah, so like, you got somebody that maybe they have a problem of some sort and they're in the hospital or something, and you got some kind of fantasy that it works in there with the science and all that. Something like that would be interesting I think, to write.
That sounds like a nice road to go to take there.
I read that.
You got my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got something brewing back there, so.
That's the fun thing of being a writer. You always got something brewing back there.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Dan?
For me, I'm kind of torn. I've had an idea I've wanted to write for years, but just never. I mean, everything seemed to get in the way. It's a story called The Swordwalker, which is about this guy. He's this sort of Jedi Knight-like warrior where he has mystical powers, and they're facing a dimensional invasion from these insectoid creatures, and it's gone on for a couple of 100 years. And he's like the guy that killed the final queen and drove them off the planet. I mean, he had help, but he was the guy that struck the final blow. And by that point, humanity was so depleted that basically his reward for all this service and blood was, go become a farmer. And he's like, what? Yeah. Excuse me. There's several kingdoms with empty thrones. You could give me one of those, I mean, and so he basically decides, screw this, I'm bored. And he goes off to this little archipelago that's very much like Polynesia, and just basically becomes a guard on transport ships to keep pirates away. And he's this, super magical warrior. So after the first few pirate ships, nobody bothers him. And so he's basically just living his life in a hammock, and then all hell breaks loose. And suddenly he's like, you mean I got to do this again? It's a different set of bad guys, but he's suddenly, the island king, where a kingdom that he likes the best, where he's friends with the king. The brother usurps the throne, and he basically gets the king's daughter thrust on him as a ward. He's like, what am I going to do with her? And so he ends up taking her on as an apprentice, and it's sort of a master and apprentice story about her growing up and taking back her throne, and him, stopping becoming a useless person. Yeah, it's my favorite line is, "I'm retired." I'd love to write that. I'd love to write that. That's fun. I've also got a little post-apocalyptic thing that I've been kicking around about dimensional invasion by these magic creatures in this high-tech world with no magic, and eventually they kick them out. Now that's 100 years later, and they're crawling back out of the Dark Ages, and a rogue AI that's been sitting around locked up in a vault gets loose, and hilarity ensues.
Exactly.
Probably read that.
Dude, I read both of those, man.
I don't have time to write. That's my problem. Everyone's like, but I'll put book 10 out in my series. It'll probably be out this fall. And the first thing, I guarantee you, like the first 5 comments is, when's book 11 coming
out? Yeah.
Come on, man. What are you slowing down for?
Yeah. People are like, would you ever go to a mainstream publisher? And I'm like, probably not for this series, but for another series, absolutely. If nothing else, it gives me a year between books.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
They want you to work fast, but at the same time, they know they shouldn't push you too much.
Well, the publishing industry has got this down. They know how to manage a stable of writers and how to put out the right number of books so that the audience that they cater to doesn't feel like their wallets are too put upon, but for me, it's just I keep putting them out as fast as I can. Plus, it's fun. I love doing this, so I'm not complaining. It's just every once in a while, like, I'd like to play Tears of the Kingdom. I think that's fun.
Dan, you know what you sound like? You sound like the DM. The DM was always like, I want to play. And everybody goes, no, you're the DM.
You're the DM, yeah. No one else knows how to do this.
Do you launch them on Kickstarter or anything like that, or how do you do it?
No, I just put them out. I've been toying with the idea of doing a Kickstarter to do like a premium edition of my books, put out, once every 6 months, just do a book and then do a hardcover with the embossed and the fancy and get some new art. See if Michael Whalen's willing to take my calls. Michael Whalen is going to take my calls.
Now, do you put them on Amazon and all that?
I do. I'm exclusive to Amazon. I built my series. Somebody gave me some great advice about the indie business. He said, listen, there's this thing called Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is basically a lending library. You pay a fee and you can check out a certain number of books. And then when you're done with them, you check them back in. And you can do that as much as you want. And I thought, well, that kind of sounds interesting. And I said, yeah, the problem is there are people on there who will read 2 or 3 books a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? And he said, they love long running series. If the characters that they can fall in love with and just keep going back to and you know, blow that out through. And he said, if you write a long running series, don't be surprised if they don't pick anything up. You know, if you don't really get much notice until you hit about book 4, book 5. That's when they're like, okay, he's serious, you know.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I hit book 5 and my KU just took off. And it's been like that ever since. You know, the KU readers, they love me because I put out books on a regular basis and they enjoy them. So
that's great. I'm glad to hear that. I just kind of wondered. I think I didn't really catch that part of how you distribute the books and everything. So,
well, you know, my problem was that to do a Kickstarter, you really need to bring your audience. You got to have an audience. You got to bring them.
Exactly.
You know, everyone's like, oh, I'll go on Kickstarter to get an audience. But everybody I talked to who ever did a Kickstarter is like, you get a little audience, but mostly it's the people who followed you with whatever you were doing before. And I'm a professional hermit. You know, so like friends. I know a couple of guys. You know,
you got us.
Yeah. Well, I'm a very personable guy for short periods. You know, I have just enough dopamine to do that. I've got ADD like a puppy.
I feel you.
You know, I can do this, but you know, after this, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to do that Tears of the Kingdom thing I was talking about. So,
Definitely.
You know,
I've done it before where I'll finish the show and then I disappear for like a day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're right. You know, one of the issues that a lot of the Kickstarters are having is that they're trying to build an audience while they're putting their stuff out there. And you know, I find that the guys who do better are the guys who have been hitting the conventions because they've been building an audience.
Yep. Yeah, if you can get out in front of people, that's the way to do it. I mean, I run ads. I spend a lot of money on Facebook running ads. They go over to Instagram. I've started, you know, I have a presence on TikTok. I'm starting to get fairly serious about that and doing regular videos instead of what I was doing, which is putting out a video when I damn well felt like it.
That's what I'm still doing.
Which was like never. Well, the problem is I put on my suit here, I put on my hat, you know, and I was doing the whole noir detective thing. And eventually it got to the point where I'm like, I want to, somebody put something up that's interesting. I want to comment on this. I'm like, if I comment, I have to put on my hat, my tie, my shirt. I'm wearing shorts right now, so this is only half an outfit. But you don't know, but nobody knows that. And I got to put on the hat, and I got to come up here, and you guys can't hear it, but I got my fan running over there. But TikTok mics can hear it, and so I got to turn it off and sweat through this, and make 4 or 5 videos. It was a production number. I'm like, I'm going to do something where I can set up my little camera on the little stand on my table and just talk to people, and that makes it much easier.
Yeah,
it is easier like that, and I still don't want to do.
Yeah, well, I had to make it easy for myself because if I didn't, I wasn't going to do it.
I completely agree with you because, like I was saying, TikTok has become for me a place to do promos, a place to every once in a while I'll do a video, or when I feel like I'm in that writing mode, I'll start doing the writing videos where I help people writing, and those are the ones that do well. And I'm like, I should do more of those, and I go,
Yeah, my wife came in and held held her phone under my nose, and she had my back catalog up on TikTok. She said, "What is this video about?" And I told her. So how many videos? How many people watched it? And I said, "Well, it looks like about 500." So what is this video about? And I told her. And how many people watched this? About 200. How many people watched this one over here? 1,500. What's that about? Well, that's about technical details about writing. And she's like, "Hey, dummy. Do more writing videos. People like that." I'm like, I don't want to do that. Writing is so subjective. I mean, everybody's process is different. I can't tell people this is the right way to write because I'm wrong 90% of the time when I do that. But so I got to figure that out.
Dude, that's exactly what happened when I finished reading all these how to write books. I was like, okay, what happens now? And I was sitting there going, they don't tell you what happens now. They don't tell you that there's this journey to become a writer that you need to take. And if nobody can tell you about it. You have to take the journey. You have to write. And then you sit there and you go, the biggest advice you give to people who want to write is write. And they look at you like you're crazy, but it's the best advice in the world because you need to write in order to do your journey to get to the writer that you're supposed to be.
The only thing I'd add to that is read.
Exactly.
when you read, you learn how story go together. You learn how sentences go together, because most of those books, if you're reading stuff that's come out of a major publishing house, they've been thoroughly edited. So if you see a sentence in there, it's probably right, you know. And you read enough, and I mean, I couldn't diagram a
Reading
sentence. You held a gun to
so
my
hard. There's words. There's no Subway Surfers on top of it for me to look at instead as a voice reads for me.
Kindle will read it to you.
That's
It's
true.
just an audiobook. You don't have to buy. I mean, just an ebook. You don't even have to buy the audiobook. Now,
Exactly.
you have to
But
deal
is
with.
there Subway Surfers in the background?
Oh
But
my
yeah,
god.
I couldn't diagram a sentence and put a gun to my head, but I can look at a sentence and tell you if it's wrong and how to fix it because I've read enough. Yeah. But you're right. The only way to get good at writing is to write.
Yeah. You write.
I can't remember who said it, but they said your first million words are practice. And if somebody pays you for some of those million words, practice cashing the check.
Exactly. And that's what the whole reason I started the Written Writ was because of that, because nobody tells you that this is a journey you're taking. And I'm like, okay, look, dudes, let's take this journey together to become better writers, because I'm still becoming a better writer. Any writer who tells you that they're where they're supposed to be is trying to sell you something.
Yeah, I learn stuff all the time.
Exactly.
Stuff that I should have known.
That's the worst one.
You know what? I smile and go on. Yeah.
And that's exactly what I think the TikTok videos do so well, is because we're just talking about stuff in general. We're not really telling them this is how you're supposed to write. We're just saying, look, this and this happens and you do this, okay? And I've seen your videos and they're very informative, especially your detective videos.
How to be a fictional
I love
detective.
those.
Yeah. I started doing those because I ran into all these. I have a book about the art of deduction, and it's all about, the latest one I did, or one of the most recent ones, was that you can tell how tall somebody is if they've written on a blackboard, because usually 90% of people, when they write on a blackboard, start writing just above their own eye line. So that means that wherever they're writing, they're maybe an inch taller than that. So it's and those are just great little things that you can throw in and make your detectives feel like Sherlock Holmes, And so I just started sharing those. I just started sharing those. If you're a mystery writer, use these. They're great. And
I think that's why I love them so much, is because they're just random facts. But if you were Sherlock Holmes, this is exactly what you'd be paying attention to.
Yep.
Right.
I know he's left-handed. How do you know he's left-handed? Because he parts his hair on his left side, or his right side. You always part your hair on the opposite side of your hand. My hair's parted over here. I'm right-handed. And it's, again, typically, obviously there are exceptions, but if you're writing the story, you can have your detective make that deduction and roll with it.
Roll with it, baby.
Yeah. If you want to write a mystery, go back and listen to those. They're great. Once I get up to 10,000 followers on TikTok, they'll let me put it in a folder where you can look at them by themselves. You
they raised it higher.
Last I saw it was 10,000.
I hate when they do.
I don't know if it was anything lower before, but I remember when I first. How come I can't make folders? How many people do you have? 3,500. Wow, that's why.
That's stupid.
Do I know?
Before, when the app first started, you can go live. You can just go live.
Yeah.
But you needed to have 1,000 followers to go live.
Yep. And I never go live because I'm like, what on earth? I need to get something to hold my camera at an angle and go live and just answer questions and build some Legos. That would be fun. But then I'd have to have somebody there looking at the questions because I'll be busy building Legos. There's a question from somebody.
We're making Legos and you can talk to me, but I'm not going to be paying attention.
Exactly. Well, ADD, I can only do one thing at a time. I've only got a certain level of dopamine.
Oh, man. So, guys, it's been a lot of fun. We still got to do the big detective show where I get all the detective guys together and we'll go back and forth on it. But this was a good first shot. Charles,
I apologize. I talk too much.
Oh, no. Don't worry, Dan. One of the reasons I like you on is because you talk. Sometimes I don't want to talk.
I don't like silence, and I do like the sound of my own voice. So
I feel you. Charles, go ahead. Tell the people who you are again. Let them know about Kutter. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I'm Charles W. Morgan. I'm the writer, creator, artist of Kutter, and we just released our second Kickstarter, Kickstarter #2 with #1 catch up. So go check it out. You know, we would love for you to check it out. It's got a lot of action, suspense, drama, crime, and you know, there's the occasional blood spill. And you know, you got to have it all in there. So it's got a classic feel to the book. It's set in modern day Manhattan. It's got like I said, a modern day setting with a classic feel. So, you know, I just want to do something that would sort of be a throwback to the classic comic strips like Rip Kirby and The Heart of Juliet Jones. You know, something that kind of has that feel, but it's set in modern day. With some twists and turns, and I've got 5 issues that are already planned out. So I think you're going to be well pleased with it if you just give it a chance. Just, you know, go on there, give it a chance, and pledge on it, and I promise you won't be disappointed.
I agree. This book is fantastic. Go check it out. Do yourself a favor. You like a nice little detective story, especially a PI type story, because that's what this feels like. This feels like a PI story, and you know, you like your PIs, you'll like this thing. Go check it out. Go support.
And
Let's get him up to 1,500.
Kutter with a K, because I looked up Kutter with a C and didn't find anything. So make sure it's Kutter, Kutter with a K.
Kutter with a K.
Dylan Kutter, the character, main character. Yeah.
There you have it, folks. He's at 1,243. We can get him to 1,500 before this campaign ends. It's 44 hours still to go. Come on, we can do this. 26 backers. Dude, let's help this guy out. This is a great story. He's already funded, so he's not worried about that. But let's get him a little bit more cushion there. Come on.
That would be nice. I could breathe a little more easily.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got some top-notch artists on these covers, and they don't come cheap. So, you know,
they don't.
It would be nice.
All the time. Yeah. Nobody's making money off of Kickstarters.
No.
Most of the time, most of these creators are just putting their money right back into the book. So go help them out. You know, doesn't hurt.
Exactly.
And if you can't help, just share it. Sharing is caring, folks. You don't know how much sharing helps out, especially a Kickstarter.
Exactly. Yep. I would appreciate that very much.
All right, Dan, now it's your turn.
Well, I'm Dan Willis, the author of the Arcane Casebook series of fantasy detective noir stories. They're real mysteries and with a detective who has a little bit of magic in a world where magic exists, so people know and can seek him out for magical help. There's 9 books in the series right now. I'm working on the 10th one. The detective's name is Alex Lockerbie, and he's a rune writer and a detective, and we have a lot of fun. So if that sounds like the kind of story you'd be interested in, you can go out and get those at Amazon.com. They're available in ebook, print book, hardcover, and audio. And next book should be out sometime in the fall.
I did notice when I was on your website, like right now, I can see it right there in front of me. It goes free ebook. So you do give away one of your books for free. So
you notice that's book 0.
Mm-hmm.
That's a prequel. The 2 guys, Alex with the rune on the cover and his cop buddy Danny Pack, who he meets in that book. If you've read, it was designed so you read the first book and then you go, oh, I want to know how these 2 characters met, because they're very prominent in the first book. So yeah, that's the story of how they met. It could be read as a standalone. Lots of people have, and just go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll send you the ebook. And if you don't like my newsletter, you can always cancel. I only send out 1 a month unless I have a special announcement, and then occasionally it's 2. But I will not harass you, I promise.
Yes, folks. It's so funny that we're still doing the email threads, but it actually works.
Well, the thing about that is that every once in a while you hear a story. Somebody, their bank won't do business with them anymore because they don't like their politics, or you get somebody said something stupid at some point, and suddenly now they can't use some service or other.
Right.
And you know what? If I have your email, then I can always contact you. So if Amazon decides that they don't like indie authors anymore and they start making the environment toxic for indies, I can always contact my fans directly. So,
yeah, it's an important thing to have.
It is.
It is irritating that we live in a world where that kind of thing can happen. But yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. That's definite.
Right.
All right, folks. I think I got a couple people lined up here. Here is Corrupt Moon. Our pal Nick Hughes has his beautiful little book here going on right now. They're at 1,709, 21 backers, 14 days to go. Come on and help them out. They're trying to get to $6,000. And dude, this book looks beautiful. It's amazing. Of course, there's a Son of Saint cover on it, so you know you want that one. and there's a lot of beautiful stuff happening there. And of course, Rob Powers himself is really helping out with this book. So you get a lot of stuff on this book here. You get some Rob Powers, you get some Son of Saint, you get some Nick Hughes. Dude, this is right up your alley. Come on, folks.
Yeah, I'm back with you.
Sorry.
Let's see. What else do we have over here? We have, if my computer agrees to let me show things, here is Lucifer Licorice. Our friend here is at, oh, there it goes. Whew, that was nice.
Jumped up.
5,810, 202 backers, 6 days to go. They're trying to get to 7,500. I'll play the video here so you guys can see what it's about if my computer decides to work with me. That was fun. Oh my god. I love Kickstarters. I love the indies. Do yourself a favor. You guys keep complaining about Marvel and DC. The best way to make them do stuff, the best way to make them better is to make sure that you are supporting the indie market, because when they have competition, they like to make things better, improve things.
Right.
The best thing ever is competition, folks. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise.
That's right.
Here's Cataclysm from Rob Powers. Of course, I had to mention Rob Powers as well. Amazing. He also did the video for Charles W. Morgan's Cold Cutter. He does a lot of things, and you can get in touch with Rob if you want a cover, if you want some art, if you want to do some stuff on your Kickstarter, if you want some videos to show off your stuff. He's the man to go look at. But right now, he's doing Cataclysm, and it's at 3,704. They're trying to reach 6,000. He's 42 backers, 14 days to go. Let's help Rob Powers and Cataclysm work and reach. And of course, you all know that I love Pinguino's Revenge, which Rob Powers did. Fantastic book. And Cataclysm is another one of those books right up that alley. Go check it out, folks.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yeah, Rob actually done my logos too on Cold Cutter. So
yeah, he does great work, man.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, my little comic book that I'm working on, I'm definitely want Rob to like do a special little piece for me, because you know I think his style will work with my Hugbert, the superhero teddy bear.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Nat, what do we got?
I am working in the background. Yeah.
We know that. That's why I asked you, what do we got?
Like a semi using air brakes.
Exactly.
I kind of, yeah. Yeah. let's go. Unless I have. Which one are you pulling up? What are you pulling up? I have a feeling I know what he's pulling up. Check out Fable Saga, amazing card game. They're fully funded, but if you like card games, if you like good art, check them out. Yeah.
Fable's decided not to work with me, so
I knew what he was doing. Anyways,
the art on Fable is fantastic, and of course, we know a couple of the artists. And do yourself a favor if you like card games, if you like great art on cards, which is why I used to play my card games. Well, I didn't play the card games; I just collected the cards. The art on those cards was beautiful, people.
That's the whole reason why I collect cards.
Exactly. Sometimes I like the game, but usually I like the art. I think that's it for us. Of course, Phil Russert is still running his Tragedy, so go check out Tragedy. Speaking of crime drama, Tragedy is one of those, and you want to go check out Phil Russert's Tragedy. It's well written, beautiful art. It's an amazing book.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a favorite, go check it out. It's on Kickstarter, by the way. Just plug in Tragedy. I think with that, we are at the mark. And folks, I hope you had as much fun as we did. I feel like I'm going to do more of these specialty shows, especially because I like talking to people like Dan Willis and Charles W. Morgan about the industry and fun and writing and detectives. So, be out there waiting for something special coming up. I know I'm working on a D&D one as well, so let's see what happens.
Sounds good.
All right, folks. With that, I'll do what I always do here on the Written Writ. I'll press the button, and where it stops,